Yeah, hello everyone. In today's session, we will look after the concept called graph matrices. In previous session, we have covered the cyclomatic complexity, right? So, what is meant by graph matrices, right? And what is the necessity of using these graph matrices? Let's start with that question, right? So, as we all in the testing part, so we are applying white box testing. In that white box testing we are using basic path testing. To determine basic path testing in a well defined manner, we need to follow a lot of procedure. In following those procedures, the graph matrices is a one of the familiar procedure which is using by a lot of testers, right? So what is meant by a graph matrices means it is a procedure for deriving the flow graph, right? We all know what is meant by a flow graph which contains edges, nodes, regions, right? And some predicate nodes. All those things will be appeared in the flow graph, right? So to determine the flow graph in well defined manner, and from that well defined manner we can able to see what are the basic paths, right? So very simple. For that basic path implementation, we depend on a matrix. We all know what is meant by a matrix which contains rows and columns, right? So automatically we need to get it out. What 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 are the rows, what value it will be hold, what are the columns, what value will be. It is simple. So each row and columns correspond to an identified node, and matrix entries correspond to the connections. That means that means rows and columns, the values are all about number of nodes, and inside the nodes I need to plot the plot a cell. That means whatever the row and whatever the column is matching. So how I can match means with the help of the connection. So for clear understanding, I will show you in next slide, right? If you see here, there is in left side there is a flow graph is there which contains nodes, which contain edges, right? And in between node and another node edges, so I have given some variable, right? So these all are the simply way of writing some flow graph. And on the right side you can see rows and columns, right? So it is divided as a node and connecting to nodes, right? So the rectangular box will simply specify the graph matrix, right? So what is these all things we will look in a simple manner, right? So that you will get a clear idea. Suppose this is the rows and this is the columns, let us assume. So here for the first node it is going to the third node. That means an edge as established between first node to third node. So I simply give a weight as a A. Right. Next, after that, we'll go for the second. Right. The second node has a connection. The second node is as I have a connection. We need to check whether is there any connection is there. So there is no going outward from the second node. So this is blank. That means it does not have any kind of a connection. So I simply fill it. I simply fill it. It has no connection. Now coming to the third node. So this third node has any kind of a flow, right? It is going to the fourth node as a B. B. It is going to the going to the fourth B, and it also going to the second also. That means I need to give here as a D, right? In the same way, for the fourth node, is there anything is going outside? Yes, it is going for fifth F. And the same way for 5, is there anything going for 3. So it is called for E. 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 Is there anything else? So it is also going for G also. That means for going for second node with a value with a variable G, right? For second node G, right? So here it is here we can simply draw a matrix. This is the graph matrix. In the graph matrix I have plotted which particular node has which connection, and I have given some weights also, right? So normally if a connection is established between nodes, then the weight will be right will be 1. If there is no connection, if there is no connection, then the weight will be 0, right? So like that this particular graph matrix concept will be appeared in the black box testing also, right? So we will discuss once again in the black box testing, right? So there are some directed links and some single directional, bidirectional, right? Parallel links, all those things concept will be appeared, right? So very simple information. The graph matrix is a matrix which contains nodes and connected nodes, right? So it is a easy way of giving information. It is a procedure of giving information about what kind of complexity exists in the basic path testing. That means how many basic paths are there, so through this graph matrix we can easily identify, right? For this is the small information about graph matrix, right? In next session we will look after another concept. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel.